Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I too have to head to the floor shortly, so I'll ask just a couple brief questions. I appreciate your service and appreciate your work here today, and I want to maybe follow up on the questions from my colleague from Arkansas. Everyone, including yourself, spends a lot of time talking to small business owners. Our focus, I think, my focus and many of my colleagues, is to try to figure out how we get innovators and entrepreneurs back home creating jobs and expanding and growing. I mean, that's the key. And we know that no matter how many dollars and trillions of stimulus dollars are spent in Washington, or how many new rules and regulations, or how many new bureaucrats we hire, it's not going to help that American somewhere that has a start a small business if they can't get off the ground and get moving. And so I hear a lot of the same things probably my colleagues do, and I guess I wanted to trail back where Mr. Womack was going here and related to a word I didn't see, at least in your report, and you might just kind of discuss your feelings on this, and that's related to uncertainty. Almost every meeting I've been in with a small business, they have brought up the uncertainty in federal policy, uncertainty in tax policy, uncertainty in rules and regulations, inability to borrow money, so many things that are related to what I believe are poor government policies, that the instability and uncertainty that many of them can't expand or feel they shouldn't expand because of the risks that are involved. And so I've been heading down the pathway along with many others of trying to figure out how we create that stability and certainty for small business owners. And I note the discussion about regulations, and I note your comments regarding the President's positions of trying to review some of those, but there's a mountain of rules and regulations heading to small business owners. I meet with community banks. I meet with small business owners. They feel inundated. And I don't know if this is what you're hearing when you go out and talk to them, but in the 3rd District of Kansas, they feel overwhelmed and inundated with so many new things coming their way. They're completely overwhelmed by what the health care bill may mean to their bottom line. I can't tell you the amount of small business owners I've talked to that have said, because of that bill, I'm not going to hire anybody until I see what the impact is on our bottom line. So I see a real bottleneck coming, not from a statement that the President might make that we should go review these rules and regulations, but from all the rules and regulations coming from that health care bill, all the rules and regulations coming from the Dodd-Frank Act, all the rules and regulations that are still coming from the EPA and OSHA and so many different organizations that I can't tell you the amount of times I talk to a small business that feels overwhelmed, and they don't say, well, if you could give a little bit more money to the SBA, we'd be back at it. They say, stop changing the rules of the game, stop sending so many rules and regulations our way, let us create jobs. And so I guess I really want to get at what the SBA is doing, or how are you advocating, or what's your position on that? Do you agree, or do you think that these rules and regulations are helpful to those innovators and entrepreneurs who are trying to get their businesses moving?
Well, as you know, we do a tremendous amount of traveling around the country, listening to small businesses as well in these roundtables. And explicitly in the roundtables that we have just announced, we are going to be asking entrepreneurs to come and talk about those specific regulations on which they have concerns. So when they talk about specific regulations, they mention 1099, which we have come out to ask for repeal. And when they talk about specific regulations, we have the ability with our ombudsman to go back to those issuing agencies and help work with those small business through them. Overall, when small businesses talk about uncertainty, which they don't do in a generalized sense, they are referring to the uncertainty they see in the economic environment. Small businesses do feel that the recession is not over. They do feel that they want now to fulfill that next order. They do come to us for counseling and advice on what is available to them. And one of the things I would hope that we might be able to do to help your small businesses is to bring them into our counseling operations. We have 900 small business development centers. We have 12,000 SCORE volunteers. And they have access to bring a small business owner to those things that will benefit them, whether it's a tax credit. We have 17 tax credits that have been enacted for small business. Now it's tax time. We need to make sure that those small businesses know what's possible for them. And then I just wanted to mention that those services are free.
And I appreciate you highlighting that. How many small businesses are there in the United States? Do we have an idea?
Yes. There are just under 30 million small businesses in the United States, of which 6 million have employees.
And how many small businesses have received services from the SBA in the last year?
Well, we have many, many ways that we deliver services, but some of the highlights are that we had 50,000 that we gave capital to and loan guarantees. There's about $100 billion of contracts that we put into their hands. I don't have the exact number of small businesses. And we counseled more than 1 million.
So 30 million small businesses, and how many, and you've counseled 1 million, how many do you think you could reasonably touch? Of all of our districts and all the small businesses that we talk to who share with us maybe a little different perspective than you're sharing today, that that the health care bill is making it difficult for them to feel like they should risk capital right now until they really see how that all plays out. That impact of the Dodd-Frank bill and its regulation of the small community banks and their impact on their ability to borrow money, that those things from the EPA and other organizations or other entities in Washington that are unpredictable, that don't go through the democratic process, that are coming through the executive branch, those things. How many small businesses can you sit down with to allay those concerns so that all those things that are coming their way, all that uncertainty that they talk to me about, how many of those folks can the SBA effectively resolve so they don't have that uncertainty anymore? And what do we do about the other 29 million?
Well, we hope that more and more of them will be able to, but I think if you want to help them with some of these issues, we can, and I would just put in a small plug for our redesigned website, sba.gov, and we have millions and millions of visitors to that website. We're helping every day provide access and opportunity to things that small businesses need in what we call the 3 C's, capital, counseling, contracts. And then, of course, we have those we help in our disaster operations as well.
And then just one small question, then I've got to move here. But regarding trade, what do you do to help a small business owner in my district that might want to figure out if there are international partners that they could trade with? Is that anything the SBA does, or where would I direct a business that brings a question like that to me?
Well, I'm sorry you have to go because this could be a very long answer. We have a intensive program. It's one of the most important things we can do now is achieve the mission of the National Export Initiative, which is to double our exports over the next 5 years. Small businesses are 30% of exports, but they are the fastest growing element. And there's only 250,000 of those millions of small businesses that I described that actually export. And most of them, 60% of them, only export to one country. So we are working on 2 things. We're working on bringing more into the funnel, and this is where there are lots of rules and learning